Mons, 11th of November, 1918, dawn.
Hostilities will cease at 1100 hours, November 11th. Troops will stand fast on the line reached that hour, which will be reported to brigade headquarters. Defensive precautions will be maintained. There will be no intercourse of any description with the enemy.
We're in the Hotel de Ville in the Grand Place of Mons. By the early morning of November the 11th, Canadian troops had infiltrated most of the city and were filtering through to the Grand Place here. The Germans had gone, and already civilians were coming out of their houses in a very celebratory mood, cheering on the troops, and the Canadians were starting to fill the square. By about 7 a.m., they got news that the armistice was in fact going ahead, and at 11 a.m., the war would end. So the Grand Place here in front of us was just loaded with French and Belgian civilians all through the area. And the Canadian troops, many of them kilted, like Will Bird's boys, and the RCRs and the Princess Patricias were all coming into the place here. In a sign of honor, the Belgian civilians had brought all the dead Canadians killed in the last part of the battle and laid them out here and covered them with flowers and wreaths. And the whole square was just full. The Canadian troops were exhausted, but they still got into the mood of things. They then had a number of speeches by the early morning into the afternoon by the local dignitaries, the mayor, and so ended the Great War.
When he enters the city, General Currie is pleased to learn that the last 24 hours of fighting and the victory at Mons has cost only 38 dead. The Belgians organize a tribute for the Canadians who died liberating Mons.
Gentlemen of the Canadian Corps, we bow, filled with respect and deep feeling before the tomb of your comrades. In so doing, we enshrine in our hearts the remembrance of what they were and what they have done for us. From afar, brothers, we knew not came to us to strive beside us, and with how much suffering, with how much effort, with how much sorrow have they paid for it. Noble Canada has shed rivers of blood. Belgium is free, and civilization is saved.
You really get a sense of the euphoria there would have been here at the time. It would have just been an incredible circumstance to stand here. 4 years of suffering for everybody, all the death and all the people who weren't here, the remembrance of all the people who had gone. And that's really what I feel strong about when I'm here, is the sense of history and the finality of the First World War.
In 4 years fighting for king and empire, the Canadian Corps had suffered 60,000 dead. Paying this terrible price, the naive amateurs of 1914 had become by 1918 the most feared troops on the Western Front, masters of war. 4 years fighting in the most deadly war in history had transformed men like Will Bird and their world. As millions of veterans would soon discover, nothing could ever be the same again.
There was no jubilation. We sat around and saw pictures. Mud holes, faces, barbed wire, stand-to parapets, still forms under blankets, boots, worn and muddied boots protruding from ambulances, pitiful khaki forms huddled on the duck boards. War we had seen, and we had seen through it.